Hey, good morning, and welcome to my science class. I want to take a little bit of time to explain just some of the general things that are important to know about both my science class and my biology class. So, the first thing I want everybody to understand is that it really takes a team for there to be success here at school. And I know there have been a lot of concerns about student safety, and so I wanted to kind of address three important parts that involve that. So, first of all, from the student perspective, we want to make sure that students are wearing their student ID badge. And so, when your students leave for school, make sure that they have this badge. It is something that they're probably going to use throughout the day. It's got a little barcode on it that they need for, lunch and things like that. We also library books and things like that. So make sure they have their ID badge. As an adult, make sure that you understand that as an adult volunteer, um, you will have to show your driver's license when you check in. And again, that's just another layer of a safety that we have here at the school. And so, make sure if you're coming to the school to do some volunteering, make sure that you bring a state ID for that. And then we also have, as teachers, we have these little cards that we can use to if there's a medical emergency or different things like that. We have those available to us. And so I do want you to know that I feel very safe here at Center Grove Middle School North, and there are a lot of layers to that safety, but those are just three that I definitely wanted to make you aware of as a parent. So, as far as my class in general, you'll hear us talking a lot about essential learnings. And basically, a good way to kind of think about that is those are the units of study that we go through. There are basically, when we look in science, there are four major categories. There is like nature of science, chemistry, global climate change, and then DNA and genetics. When I look at biology, there are about 10 essential learnings, and those deal primarily with, um, you know, characteristics of living things. But even in science and in biology, they're kind of broken down into three different parts. The first part is just like the name, and then a simple explanation of what that um, particular essential learning is. Then we would talk about like what are the essential vocabularies, and then what are the learning goals for each of those. So that's kind of the way that we start with each of those. And so within each of these essential learnings, there is a title, the kind of student friendly explanation of that title, the essential vocabulary, and then the bullet points of what that is. And that's how we kind of break up the year. As far as like the tools and technology that we use, I know it can be kind of an alphabet soup as far as what we utilize in class. Um, but the two that I just want to talk about are Skyward and Canvas, and it's important to know the differences between those. So Skyward is basically where we report grades. And so that would be like our progress monitoring tool. So those are the grades. Canvas is a content management tool, and so that would be like, think of it like an online textbook. So it's where the content is. It's where the assignments are. It's where the assessments take place and those kinds of things. And so Canvas is kind of the meal type thing that we would eat every day, and then the way we monitor that progress is through Skyward. And so that would be like the grades then being reported into Skyward. So some just general tips for success would be, first and foremost, are the student notebooks. And so this is the first thing that we're going to be going over in class. The first thing that we set up, and is the most important thing that those students must bring with them to class every single day. And as a parent, what you should know is that can be used on most assessments in science, not in biology. So in science class, that science notebook can be used on quizzes and tests. And so that is a wonderful tool that should be kept organized. And as a parent, it would be good for you to say, hey, let's take a look at your science notebook. Let's go through what you might be doing in class. That would be it. And when I sit down with kids who are struggling, this is what we do. We go through their science notebook. We make sure that it's up to date. I go over it with them. I do each assignment. They can. We can do it together. That is what we do when we look at organization, is go through that science notebook. And when it comes to labs and practice assignments that are turned in Canvas, those can be redone. I want them to be redone if they're done poorly. That is what learning looks like. Learning is not something that just you turn in and you're done. It's you turn in and you refine, you edit. That's what learning looks like. Editing, you add to it. And so when I give feedback within Canvas, I expect that feedback to be reviewed by the student. It can be reviewed by a student and a parent, and then resubmitted. And it can be, we can do that cycle many different times until they can get whatever grade that they want. And I really encourage students to do multiple submissions, because again, that's what learning looks like. It takes me many times to work through a project before I feel like I get it right. And so I want to give my students that same opportunity. And I will leave those assignments open in Canvas until I have to report a grade. And that's basically at the midterm, I have to report a grade. And at the end of 9 weeks, I have to report a grade. And I leave them open as long as I can, but at some point I have to report a grade to Skyward, and that I keep them open as long as possible. But at some point I have to turn in a grade, and that's when those get closed. And so think of it as I'm reporting, growth, not grades. And so I will continue to improve, to report that grade, that growth, as that student demonstrates that growth. Now, of course, they have to show that growth, and so they have to resubmit in order to do that. Also, as a parent, a great tip for success is to just talk about school. Sit down, look at Canvas together, look at Skyward together. I know Canvas does have a parent login, but I've heard from different parents that is not always the best way for them to kind of keep tabs on what their kids are doing. So I would say just sit down and look at it together. Say, hey, get out your iPad. Let's go through Canvas. Let's look at the grades. Let's look at feedback. Let's see if there's any missing assignments that you might be able to do, or other assignments that can be redone for a better grade and resubmitted. Doing those types of things together demonstrates, a commitment as a family to success, here at school. And know that the names on the assignment in Canvas will match the name of the assignment in Skyward. They are literally exactly the same. So if you're in Skyward and you're unsure what a specific assignment might be, you might have to log into Canvas in order to see what that is. So again, I understand it's sometimes hard to understand what's in Skyward and what's in Canvas, but the two, are really, uh, work hand in hand as far as, where the content is and then how that is reported. And so when you look at Canvas specifically for my class, each EL has its own module within Canvas. And so uh, from a student iPad is what I'm going to show you on here, is you can see that these are the modules is at the top of the home screen for my class. And within there, as we go through each of those ELs, those will show up in modules. So if I were to say open up a module towards the end of the school year, you can see these are all the different ELs. Now, at the beginning of the school year, it'll be really simple because there'll be just the first one. But then as we start to add more and more content, this will become more and more populated. I'll always put the most recent one at the top. That way, that will help you. But then as you go deeper and deeper into the subject, those will continue to play out. Some also important tools that are within that Canvas class would be things like links to the online textbook. I also put my plan book calendar in there. There's also a link to Skyward. And so I try to make it kind of a one-stop shop as far as my class. And, because of the situation we've been in the last several years, what is in my Canvas course does mirror exactly what's happening in my actual classroom. So if a student is absent, they can log in that day and see what we're doing in class that day. And so there shouldn't be, um, you know, it should simplify absent work and those types of things. And so those types of things go hand in hand. What we're doing in class is the same that will appear in Canvas. And so if you were to say, look at a particular assignment within a module, it's basically broken up into these parts. And so, within each day, there'll be an assignment that has like the learning objective or instructional goals for what would be like the core idea of what we're doing that day. Then there would be like the content and material. So things they would need in order to complete the assignment. And then at the end of that assignment, there would be some check for understanding. So every single day, there is something that the kid has to do within Canvas. It could be, just a simple exit ticket. It could be, submitting a photocopy or a picture of something they've done in their notebook. So it could be really simple. It could be a lab. It could be a quiz or a test. But there's something that needs to be done every single day for each of those assignments. And then once they've submitted it, this is what you're going to look for. So under the submission part right here, if it has been submitted, it will say submitted, and it will give an exact time and date that submission was done. If it has been submitted and I've provided feedback, that will also be on that submission tool. Know that feedback is extremely important to me. I make it a high priority to get feedback quickly and efficiently back to students. So typically, I will provide feedback within 24 hours, meaning that if I have an assignment due today, they'll have feedback tomorrow. And again, that's just a high priority for me to give feedback quickly, and then that feedback is specific as far as what they need to do in order to show improvement and growth. And that's where you would go to find that right there. It's kind of hidden. So if you need a further explanation on that, just, let me know and I can go over that. As far as how that practice will be graded, basically, I ask these kind of questions. So, did the student complete the entire assignment? Did that student demonstrate an understanding of the science concept that we were going over in that assignment? Um, would it be obvious to a classmate, to a teacher, to a parent that you understood that concept? Sometimes it's not so obvious that I can understand that they understand that particular thing. So it should be obvious that it's understood. And then that they really put forth their best effort. And that can look different for different kids. And so, you know, sometimes a kid might say, well, he got a 5. How did he get a 5 and I only got a 4? Well, best effort, or, what that looks like for one student might look different for another student. And so, like, my expectations for an honors biology student might be different, is different than what I would expect for a regular science kid, and those types of things. So, it's not always easy to compare. It's, those types of things can change depending upon that particular student. And so that's really what I'm looking for. As far as some tech tips on Skyward, uh, the best thing I can do for you is to help you understand that uh, when a assignment is a 0 or an asterisk, that's a missing assignment. And so that means the student turned in nothing. If they turn in something, they're going to get a 3. And so I grade on a 5-point system. So a 0 means nothing was turned in. If they turn in something, they're going to get a 3. If they turned in something and they did most of it and did most of it well, they're going to get a 4. If they turned it in and got everything right, everything was perfect, that's a 5. And so that's, what we're looking for. When we see a student who has multiple zeros, we might do what's called an assignment intervention. And that would mean where they have multiple assignments missing, and we would probably look at getting them some instructional assistance, probably during their lunch period or during Connect, and start to really try to get them some help that they need as far as getting those assignments done. Know that only about 2 grades per week will be reported from Canvas into Skyward. So not every Canvas assignment is reported into Skyward. The Skyward assignments are ones that really targeted specific ELs and learning goals within those ELs. So within a grading section of, like, which is about 4.5 weeks, there might be about 1 quiz, so 1 assessment, maybe 1 lab, and 6 to 7 practice assignments for that entire 4.5 week period. Sometimes, depending on where that grades need to be reported, that proportion might be slightly different, but that's kind of a good rule of thumb on what to expect. So about 1 quiz or test, 1 lab, and about 6 or 7 different homework slash practice assignments. But remember, those lab and practice assignments can be redone as many times as they want until I have to report. So don't wait until after a grading period has passed. It needs to be done before a grading period has passed, because that once it passed, that means I have to report those grades. Okay, so how can I help? So I do provide a lot of support materials within Canvas. And so that's kind of an indirect way of me helping. Is there are a lot of tools within Canvas that students and parents can use, independently of me. There's the online textbook, There are links to study materials. Sometimes those are games or flashcards or different things like that. I will often create videos or provide examples within the modules of Canvas that are very useful, indirect ways of getting instructional help. As far as direct help, I am available before school for free tutoring most of the time. Um, I'm here usually very early, well before school starts. And typically, what we do is I'll sit down with students and review their science notebook. We'll go through my notebook and we'll compare that with their notebook. So we'll review our notebooks together. And again, that's free tutoring before school. All I ask is that you contact me before sending your kid in, or and that, again, because of safety issues, I'll need to make sure that I meet them downstairs, allow them into the building, and everything's cool with that. um, Sometimes we'll also look over practice assignments, go over lab data, allow them to get corrections done on those and then resubmit those. So again, that's a great opportunity for them to improve their grades, which means to show growth and show improvement on those. And then I can also do test preparation or just general organization with them. That's a great opportunity for us to do that before school. Finally, I will be sending out weekly updates through Parent Square. Basically, I just call those, my weekly updates. All I ask is that you take a little bit of time to review those, please. A lot of times there are tips in there as far as things that are coming up that are really important. That is one of the ways in which I really want to make myself available to parents and students, and to help you stay aware, reaching out to you as a parent to keep you involved in that. As far as contacting me, um, email is the easiest way to contact me, and I will reply often within hours, 24 hours at the most. And that's just a great way of me reaching you. As far as, voicemail, you can leave a voicemail for me. I do find those more difficult to respond to. So email is typically better, but I understand that sometimes a voicemail is easier. So I will put my contact information on there. Again, expect a reply within 24 hours or less on that. And, um, you know, I hope we have a fantastic year. Again, if you have any questions or comments, let me know and we'll get those addressed right away. Thank you so much.